Hi, this is Brian. I've had several questions on how I put together my videos on YouTube, in particular the way that I have the gauges set up. So I thought I'd go through and tell you how that works. I use a GoPro Hero 8 or a GoPro Hero 5 and a GoPro Max 360. Depending on whether or not I am doing multicam, depends on where I will have the cameras done. This video is using a GoPro Hero 8. I have the Hero 8 set up to save battery. Most importantly, I have the GPS turned off, and I do not do in-camera stabilization. Now the Hero 8 and the Hero 5, but to a lesser extent, work really well with a product called Real Steady that was developed, and then eventually GoPro purchased them and made it available in their GoPro player. I'm showing you here, I've imported a series of videos. These are a trip from Watsonville to Half Moon Bay, and then from Half Moon Bay and back. At Half Moon Bay, I swapped out the battery in the GoPro Hero 8 so that I would have enough battery to do both recordings. And you'll see, unfortunately, the GoPros mark the names a little oddly. So the 1.3 is a trip back at the end of the name, and the 1.2 is a trip up on the end of the name. So the first thing you want to do is change that to HEVC or H264. The Pro is really nice. It's really big. What I've done is I've set it for 1, and then I'm going to go ahead and change it for all of them to be the same. I will set the smoothness to 50. I find that that works with this particular airplane, which is a 1946 Stinson 108. And then I'll go ahead and verify where it's being stored, where it's being output. I have a RAID 0, which is 2 flash drives, and so that's where I set it. And let it convert the files. This takes a while. My Mac is a fairly beefy one. It's a Mac Mini with 64 gigabytes of memory, and it's basically one of the biggest last Intel Mac Minis you could buy. So the telemetry overlay I use to put the GPS data onto the video. Now you'll remember I said that I had the GPS turned off on the GoPro. So where do I get it from? I normally fly with a product called Foreflight, and the Stinson is equipped with a GPS receiver. This is all due to ADS-B, which was a mandate that came out in 2020, and I fly in enough areas that it's required. So, but it gives you good GPS data. So what I'll do is I'll export that as a KML file, and then I'll import it into Telemetry Overlay. Now the problem is the telemetry coming off of the Foreflight is not synced. So that is the major thing we have to accomplish. Once we do that, then the data can be synced and the gauges look good. I have a special layout that I liked, and I set up a pattern for this layout. Now you'll notice that the airspeed gauge has whatever its markings are, and it is set to auto. This particular aircraft and all other aircraft have their well-defined airspeeds. So I wanted to make sure and have the airspeeds that my aircraft has reflected on this gauge. I have a photograph of my airspeed indicator, which you'll see popping up here. And I go through and make notes of the individual airspeeds and go and change them on the gauge itself. For example, my maximum airspeed on the gauge itself is 200. The Stinson will never get there. I typed in 160, and that was a mistake. And the minimum airspeed is 40. So that establishes our minimum and our maximums. Then we have to do stall speeds. VS0 is stall speed with full flaps. In this particular airplane, the stall speed at the bottom of the arc is 53 miles per hour. You'll notice I've changed the ground speed to be miles per hour instead of knots, because that just happens to be reflect what this airplane does. The maximum never exceed speed is 162, or right around there, VNE. and the VNO is 121, which is the green arc. And VNO is the maximum structural cruise speed, which is 120 miles an hour on this airplane. So obviously I made a mistake. I swapped VSO and VS1. So the yellow and or the white and the green arc are listed as the same. So once I put those back where they're supposed to be, checking it, it looks appropriate. It looks like the gauge that I have in my airplane. So once I have that, then I can go back and make modifications for the area that I'm flying. Now, the Central Coast of California has a magnetic deviation of minus 13 degrees. That means that the magnetic heading is off of true heading by about 13 degrees. I go and delete the ones I don't want, rearrange them, and I'm all set. I put the map over in the left corner. I think it looks good there. A lot of the times I will just delete that when I do my final editing. Once I have them all saved the way that I want, then I can go to the patterns option in the lower left and save this pattern so that whenever I want to use this pattern again when doing GoPro footage of the same airplane, I can just load it and not have to worry about having to reset it all the time. Once I have the KML data in the video, I'll bring the video into Telemetry Overlay. It does pre-processing optimization to allow it to play back very quickly. I skip over that right now for this demo. Normally I'll let it go because it does make it faster for playback. It'll come back and say that there is no GPS data. I have the GPS turned off on the GoPro. So I will load the telemetry KML file from Foreflight into the system. Here you can see I'm loading it in. It overwrites it. I'm going to delete some of the gauges. What I want to do is make some of the gauges much more visible, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find a sync point between the KML data and the video itself. In order to do that, I changed to video timestamp rather than video start. This will give me a very small time period for the sync delta. You can see that, I can bring up the offset in graph between 112 and 54 seconds on the KML data, which comes up to being around 18 seconds. I put in 20, I wasn't really thinking, and then went from there. So what I'm looking for now is, does the airspeed indicator match the stop on the airplane? It's not going to go zero because I'm not actually stopped that long, but it'll be a minimum. So basically look for the changing airspeed and then go back to the minimum from that. I figured out that it was wrong, so I put in 16. Again, it should be 18. I just was not able to do math today. But 16 is pretty darn close. And what I'll do now is I'll check to make sure the secondary part, when I actually lift off, shows a increase in altitude. So now I'll bring in my other special pattern and then make sure that it looks export using transparent movie, which is not able to be read by QuickTime, but is able to be read by Final Cut Pro. And here you can see the final result. It actually has transparency and works really well for overlaying on top of just standard video.